Hey guys, my name's Sully, and now that we've all had a few weeks to play Battlefield 4 post-fall patch, I wanted to do a video highlighting 3 guns you should revisit now that there has been a massive rebalancing of a lot of the weapons in the game. This isn't going to be a long-winded wrap-up of every single change that was made during the patch. For that, if that's really what you're into, you can check out the link in the description below for a complete rundown by the awesome crew behind Simthic.com. This also isn't going to be a quest to identify the best guns post-patch. I'm not going to wade into that whole mess, because frankly, even with all the updates and changes to the damage models, the best guns in the game still kind of remain the best guns in the game. You may just have to adjust your style. Instead, for those of you who like a little variety in your life, I'm going to take a look at 3 guns that you probably stopped using or maybe even never bothered with pre-patch, and outlining why they're worth another look. So let's get down to it. First up is a gun I've already talked about a little bit in my PTFO Squad Up series, the AUG A3 Assault Rifle. And like a lot of the mid-range RPM assault rifles in Battlefield 4 1.0 before the patch, the AUG was okay. It got the job done in most situations, mid to long range, but it wasn't great. It was just okay. It was blah. However, for all its flaws, the AUG A3 was always an accurate gun. And when I was leveling it up earlier this year, I found it very easy to control and to keep on target. However, at the end of the day, that accuracy wasn't enough to overcome its disappointing rate of fire of 700 rounds per minute. You could pick almost any of the other top-tier assault rifles, M416, H23, certainly the AEK, you name it, and just straight up perform better. So when I was done getting the 500 or 510 kills or whatever it is to get the last battle pack, I really had no reason to come back to the AUG. Flash forward to the patch, and basically what DICE has done with this gun is play to its strengths. It certainly didn't get the most buffs in terms of the assault rifles. If you look at anything like the AR-160 or the LD5A2, they got a lot more tweaks, but for me, the fact that they went back and significantly reduced both the horizontal recoil and the first shot multiplier, something they didn't do in too many guns, makes the AUG A3 oh so sweet to use now. Even though it still has that 700 RPM rate of fire, the AUG A3 is now practically a laser beam at mid to longer ranges. You can pick people out of windows or even off their head glitch spots fairly quickly, and with the new bullpup hipfire bonus that has been implemented across weapons, this gun, the AUG A3, has a new lease on life. It now does a few more things relatively well compared to other assault rifles in the game, and it is certainly worth your attention. Like I said earlier, so many other players have seemed to gravitate towards the AR-160 or the LD5A2 post-patch, but for me, the AUG fits my style a lot better, and if you haven't picked it up in a while, I urge you to go back and take another look. You just might like what you find. Next up is a PDW that was nearly extinct before the patch, the P90. Now, when the full list of weapons tweaks from the fall patch was released, this gun stood out and it frankly surprised me. Almost every single weapon stat that the developers were looking at when rebalancing the weapons was tweaked on the P90. From its standing hip recoil to its crouched ADS recoil, nearly everything was tweaked on this gun, and for good reason. Before the patch, this gun's sole defining feature in a field of already underwhelming PDWs was its 50-round magazine. You could shoot at enemies for days with the P90, and you sure as hell needed to with the severe damage drop-off suffered by all of the PDWs. Also holding this gun back like a pair of cement shoes was the fact that you couldn't put a foregrip on here. Almost all of the other PDWs allowed you to customize the grip to make it more accurate to fit your style, but the P90 doesn't. There is no slot for it. So basically what you were left with was a gun that you had absolutely no reason to use in a class of guns that you had nearly as little reason to use. In fact, I used the P90 so rarely before the patch that when I picked it up again after seeing the stats, I started unlocking pretty much all the standard attachments. And while the fall patch accuracy boost certainly has not moved the P90 up the list of PDWs above the likes of the mighty MPX, UMP45, or AS Val, it can now be used without the certainty of a rage stroke. On PDW-friendly maps like Zavad or Pearl Market, the high-capacity P90 is now, frankly, a contender. I found that the standard barrel and laser sights was enough to get the job done in close quarters. However, you may want to try out the heavy barrel if you're really good at controlling that kind of recoil. But really, that's your only options on this gun. You still can't put a foregrip on it, but at the same time, it's now a lot better to use. So if you like using PDWs and you haven't revisited the P90 after the patch, you may want to give it another go. And finally, last on the list is another historic problem child in a class of weapons that has been neck-deep in an identity crisis since the launch of BF4, the MK11 Mod 0 Designated Marksman Rifle. On the whole, DMRs have been straight up disappointing in Battlefield 4, and have lacked a compelling reason to use them over either bolt-action sniper rifles or some of the longer-range assault rifles. The developers have made a few tweaks to DMRs over the last year, and now most of them are 3-shot kills to the body, and 2-shot kills if one of the rounds you land on target is a headshot. But the issues that have constantly plagued DMRs have been their accuracy and effectiveness at range. If you were in a close or mid-range engagement, for example, you really needed to land at least your first 2 shots, otherwise your enemy would win the firefight with almost any other gun of the game, or you would end up spamming nearly all of your rounds at the target. DMRs before the patch, and the MK11 in particular, never felt as accurate as they in theory should have been. And to make matters worse, they were somehow even more difficult to use at range. But now, post-patch, the MK11 Mod 0 feels almost rewarding to use. Its recoil has been greatly reduced, and along with the tweaks made to visual recoil in the game, it is much easier to track targets and land follow-up shots on opponents. And with a boost to the MK11's muzzle velocity, you'll find that hitting stationary or even moving targets with the gun is a bit more practical now. The damage model is still a 3-shot kill at all ranges, but with the increased ability to put more rounds on target through the accuracy and the muzzle velocity, this doesn't seem as much of a hindrance as it once was. And sure, the best-in-class rate of fire of the SKS still makes it the DMR's spammer's gun of choice, but with the MK11's shiny new stats, this rifle can now hold its own. And for an added bonus, neither classic mode or smaller maps, adding a silencer to the MK11 makes for some stealthy run-and-gun action and a lot of fun, frankly. It still remains to be seen if the patch has saved DMRs or if they'll fall back into obscurity, but I know that I'll likely be revisiting the MK11 in the future. So that's it for this roundup of 3 guns you may want to revisit in the wake of the Battlefield 4 fall patch. Be sure to let me know what you think in the comments below, and if there are any guns you've really taken a liking to since the rebalancing. Hope you enjoyed the video, and if you do, don't forget to hit thumbs up and subscribe. Until next time, guys and gals, my name's Sully, and I'll see you on the battlefield.